Chiefs Kingdom. It's Monday morning, and we're all chiefed up, and we're back with another podcast for that ass.
Yeah, first up today, we're going to be talking about why Frank Clark left the Kansas City Chiefs and much, much more. But if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button now. 95% of the viewers are not subscribed. That's just insane. We're trying to get to 10,000 before the season starts. Mike, let's talk about Frank Clark, baby.
Yeah, he says no hard feelings. Frank Clark explains why he didn't return to the Chiefs after the Broncos signing. This was a story by Joey Mastretta. And this is what he says in the article. He says, I wasn't asking for an out-of-the-ballpark number. I wasn't asking for 15 to 20 million, Clark told Josina Anderson on Undefined with Josina Anderson. That must be a show. I was due like 25. My agent, Eric, he basically just gave me a scoop and said the Chiefs said, we're trying to get something done with a few other guys on the team. Wonder who that could be, Steve. Is that Chris Jones? Yeah, I think so. He said, I'm with you. I fully understand. And he said, if it comes around in free agency, if we can make something work out later on, let's stay in contact and we can work something out. And I said, all right, I got you. And that was basically the gist of the conversation. So this is what he's saying, Steve. He said that he was in talk with the Chiefs. They were wanting to work out a few contracts, and then they would come back and talk to him then. And it looks like he just decided, enough's enough. He's not waiting any longer. He's taking the Denver deal.
Right. Well, it's a good thing he wasn't asking for 15 to 20 million because he would have got laughed out of the state anyway, because that's just insane. The fact that he was due 25 million just shows you how that signing and how that restructure was not the greatest of Brett Veach's moves with Kansas City so far. He did not live up to the hype. He did not live up to his potential. Granted, we love Frank Clark, and he was irreplaceable in the playoffs and on our Super Bowl runs. So I'm glad we had him, glad for our time with Frank Clark, but I think it was just time to move on. It was best for both sides of the situation here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Frank was owed. We gave him $7.5 million dead cap. So we could not go out and be like, Frank, I'm going to give you $10 million more. Who's going to pay Frank $17.5 million for 1 year? It's not happening. You can't do that. He obviously was not going to take the sweetheart deal. He didn't care to come back to KC for $1 million, $2 million, maybe even $3 million. Right. He took the 5.5 from Denver. Incentives can push it up to 7.5 to maybe 8, somewhere in that ballpark range. That's kind of ludicrous when you think about it. We've been talking about Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is owed $5.5 million this year. Of course, he wants the restructure, and the Vikings are saying, hey, we may shop him because we don't know if we want to lock him up long term. We might not have the money. We might be doing a rebuild. The Vikings may be in rebuild mode, to be honest. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to pull it off over there. So they may be at that point, but how do you not, kick the tires on maybe a Danielle Hunter trade for $5.5 million on this year, and then Frank thinks he's worth $5.5 million? Those two players are just not even in the same ballpark.
They're not, but obviously Frank was worth $5.5 million. Denver paid it. But I do think that was top-end Frank Clark. I think that's the best deal he was going to get, and I think that's why he went to Denver ultimately. I don't think it was like a smack in the face to Kansas City to go to a division rival or anything like that. I just think that Denver valued him more than other teams and offered him more money. And why did they value him more than other teams? Because they could squeeze a little bit of information out of Frank Clark about the Chiefs because they're tired of getting their asses kicked by the Chiefs. End of story. So if they have to pay a little bit more money to try just anything to get back in the ball game there, that's what they were going to do. And Frank's going to take the most money he can get, and I think that was top end for Frank Clark. But I'm with you, man. Danielle Hunter, that's a good one to look at. I think the Vikings are a good trade target, or a trade partner, I should say, with the Chiefs if they want to move some players around.
Right. Well, I got a graphic here. It says AFC players who can become stars in 2023. If you look at the Chiefs, that's a defensive end. That's a former first-round draft pick from last year, George Karlaftis. That is probably the reason that you don't go out and you overpay Frank Clark this season. You already took Felix in the first round this year. A lot of people are saying that's the reason you don't go look at Danielle Hunter and you don't go look at Chase Young. A lot of people are using it for that. We kind of think Danielle Hunter is, and maybe even Chase Young to a certain degree, is in a little bit of a different league than Frank Clark, obviously, and then possibly even the rookie and the second-year guy. But, Steve, they're saying George Karlaftis could be a star this year in 2023, and I agree. I think George Karlaftis is going to go above and beyond what he did last year, and I think he's double-digit sacks, hands down this year. I think he's going to get even better.
Yeah, you know me. I think that George Karlaftis is going to have a good second year. No doubt about it. But the funniest one to me on that list was actually Mecole Hardman with the Jets. That cracks me up. If they think that he's just all of a sudden going to leave the Kansas City Chiefs and go play with old man Rodgers and he's going to become a star, they're out of their minds. But back to what actually matters, George Karlaftis. This guy works so hard. He's got a high motor when he's on the field. He gives you everything he's got. This guy wants to get better, and he's going to get better. He's been working with Tamba Hali. He's doing everything he can to keep improving, and I think that he will. I think he'll have a better second year than even his rookie year.
Yeah, I like George Karlaftis. There's a lot of people in Chiefs Kingdom don't like him. It started with RGR, Daniel. It started with Ryan Tracy. We love those guys over there, but they were so down on George Karlaftis. They thought he was very one-dimensional. He's only a bull rush guy. He don't have speed. He can't get to the quarterback. He can't do this, can't do that. There were a few times that the quarterbacks would evade his grasp and they'd get out of bounds or something, but that's a disruptor. He disrupts it. He may not have been able to get to that 15 sack mark or that elite level where he's running these guys down and chasing them down from behind, but he's moving them out of the pocket. He's disrupting the timing, and he's doing all the things he can, and I do believe he will get there. I believe he definitely gets there, and I believe he gets there this year. But who are we not talking about? A lot of people. Let's argue Charles Omenihu is being forgotten, written by Mark Gunnels. Steve, are we forgetting Charles Omenihu, or is it just one of those things where Charles Omenihu is just unproven, and you can't put him in the same ballpark as maybe a Daniil Hunter trade or a Chase Young trade or even George Karlaftis for that matter?
I think it leans more towards what you said. If you're talking about like the highest caliber pass rushers and you're talking about Daniil Hunter or Chase Young or something like that, obviously you don't throw Charles Omenihu in that category. You just don't do it. But some people are forgetting about him a little bit when we're talking about our defensive ends because they're like, how's George Karlaftis going to be in his second year? Or, hey, how is Felix going to fit in here? How good is he going to be taking that step from college to the NFL? So, yeah, I think people forget about Charles Omenihu a little bit, but we can prove that. If you just go back and look at some of our live streams, our fans did not forget about Charles Omenihu. We get asked about him quite a bit. They even say that, like, hey, why aren't you guys talking about Charles Omenihu? The reason why we're not talking about him is because it's just not relevant right now. Like, I think Charles Omenihu is coming off his best years of pro, and he's got a chance to really break out here with the Chiefs. But like you said, he hasn't done it just yet. So he's not up there in that upper echelon of pass rusher. So his name just doesn't enter the conversation.
Well, here's what I'll say about Omenihu. A lot of people are saying what you just said. He's coming off his best year. The future's bright for Omenihu. If you go back and look at Omenihu, he's brought in the league in 2019 for Houston. I'm pretty sure he's like a fifth-round pick, somewhere in that range. He had 13 combined tackles, 5 assists, 3 sacks in his rookie year. In his second year with Houston, 17 combined, 6 assists, and 4 sacks. Then, his last year in Houston, 11 combined, 3 assists, 0 sacks. In 2021 for San Francisco, he recorded 0 sacks. So 2 straight years with 0 sacks. And then in 2022, 20 combined, 13 assists, and 4.5 sacks. So his entire 5-year career to this point, the dude only has 67 combined tackles and 11.5 sacks. George Karlaftis almost had that in one season. So that's what I'm trying to say. When you're coming at us and you're saying George Karlaftis is not good, he's not going to be that guy, you cannot in the same breath come at me and say Charles Omenihu gives me complete the warm and fuzzies in the belly that he's going to be a game record game changer. I just don't see it.
I don't either, man. You hit the nail on the head right there. He just hasn't proved to be like some crazy game-changing pass rusher. Yeah, he looked pretty decent last year, and we're hoping he's going to look even better this year. But it's yet to be seen. So I think Charles Omenihu gets talked about as much as he's worthy of at this moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think Charles Omenihu, he could be solid, kicking down in the middle, helping the pass rush, boosting the pass rush, but he's a rotational guy, and I don't think you build a franchise around him. He's not a star. He's not that guy. I think George Karlaftis is going to be that guy. And let's hope Felix turns into that guy. We had a conversation last night on our live, boom or bust. And was it you that said Felix could be boom or bust
in the chat. I disagreed.
In the chat.
I did agree with them somewhat. I think that's a good one, but I don't think he has to boom in his rookie year. You know what I'm saying? I think you have to give these guys time because they're making a big step from college to the NFL. I mean, any rookie that you talk to or anybody from the NFL, they'll say that the biggest thing there is just the competition level is different and taking that step, and it's a learning curve. So you have to give these guys time. So I wouldn't necessarily call him boom or bust, but I get where they're coming from with that. Like, he could really come out here and not put up anything on the stat line in his rookie year. That doesn't mean that he won't later on, but he could come out in his rookie year and either do next to nothing, or he could come out and do even better than George Karlaftis did in his rookie season.
Right. So we've talked about Danielle Hunter just a little bit. We've talked about him just a little bit. It's a lot of rumors at this point. Vikings Wire come out and said Danielle Hunter, the Chiefs should be interested. Are they? We don't know. Nobody's been able to confirm anything whatsoever. He does want a contract restructure. I said I would be fine restructuring this guy. He's 28 years old. If you could get him for a second-round pick even, I think he's better. I think he's a top 65 player. If you put him in next year's draft class and said, is he a top 65 player? Yes, hands down, he's a top 3 player, if not number 1 behind Caleb Williams. This is the thing. We just talked about all these guys. We just talked about Omenihu, how he's not really proven himself. George Karlaftis has his limitations. I'll give him that. He's not the quickest. He's not the fastest. He don't have the best moves. He does have limitations. We did get Felix. We don't think Felix is going to come out and light the world on fire year 1. He could be a solid pro, and he could be a superstar, but I don't think in year 1 you're going to get that from him. We lost Frank now. Frank is off the table. He's with a divisional rival. Mike Dana. I think Mike Dana is going to have a solid season. I think he almost had a breakout season last year. I think he could be right there again this year. But again, these are all just serviceable, almost pass rusher, B guys. You don't have that one guy. So is Danielle Hunter somebody that you would honestly consider if you were Brett Veach, or do you just roll with what we have?
Are you calling our edge rushers mid, Mike? Is that what you're doing right now?
Not mid. I think even like Frank Clark. Frank Clark was paid as our 1A top pass rusher, and I don't think anybody could agree that he lived up to the contract or he is an elite pass rusher in this league.
Well, I think that Brett Veach and crew and Spags are probably looking for another pass rusher. Let's be honest. If there's anywhere on the team that you want to kind of reinforce just a little bit more, I feel like that's the obvious one, is defensive end. I think that that's just the best spot to do it. We've talked about 100 times how they like to get some kind of a veteran pass rusher in. Terrell Suggs, Melvin Ingram, Carlos Dunlap. They don't have that guy this year. Kind of thought they might bring Frank Clark back to play that role and just be a rotational guy and be a leader in that room. But it didn't work out. He went on to Denver and still took a little bit more money than he's probably worth right now, so you can't blame him a bit.
That's for sure.
But yeah, man, Danielle Hunter, it'd be a little bit of a different route for the Chiefs because he's not like this guy at the end of his career, but he is a guy that has some years under his belt and has some experience, and we know he's damn good. If you go look at his stats, if you watch his tape, we know this guy's good. You get him on the cheap for at least 1 year, or you just restructure him and keep him. It is what it is, and I think that we have some players just like him that are on contract years that are kind of in limbo. Like, you don't know what's going to go on with these guys. We've talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We've talked about L'Jarius Sneed, Willie Gay, that we have some guys like that. So I understand he might not be too happy with the Vikings, and they might not want to pay him what he's worth. But what do they need? If they don't want him, what do they want? Do they need a cornerback? Do they need a running back? We know they just dropped Dalvin Cook and cut him. Right. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe they're, like I said earlier, they're an intriguing trade partner for the Chiefs because, things go both ways there. But I definitely think that Veach and crew have some kind of interest in Danielle Hunter. I think that it was rumored last season that they were, rumored to have wanted to trade for Danielle Hunter. So usually when you hear that kind of stuff, it's true.
Right.
Like somewhat. Just like just like the D-Hop thing. Everybody kept saying, hey, man, I think they're interested in D-Hop. And then come to find out they tried to trade for him. Right. So, I think that they have interest in Danielle Hunter.
Chiefs fans are screaming at their screen. They're screaming at their screen right now because we've not mentioned B.J. Thompson. I know that everybody's like, we got B.J. Thompson. We drafted B.J. Thompson. Guys, I don't think anybody can say B.J. Thompson's in the same realm of NFL player.
You know what?
Right now as Danielle Hunter. So I don't think we can really say that. But B.J. Thompson being said, Steve, how's he going to translate? This guy's coming from Stephen F. Austin. I know we've said this to our faces turn blue.
Right.
I don't think you can guarantee B.J. Thompson's going to be an elite breakout star in this league, to be honest.
Chiefs fans have this unique quality where they like to be like, we don't need anybody. We got this guy in the 5th round of the draft last year. We got this guy we signed him as a UDFA. We don't need anybody. It's like they have so much confidence in everyone that Veach gets, whether it's a 7th round pick, a UDFA, which this is not a bad thing. You got confidence in your GM, your coaching staff, and you think that, then more power to you. But sometimes, everyone has to be a little bit more realistic. Like, do you really think that a guy that we drafted in the 5th round, we traded up in the 5th round, and a lot of people thought that was too early for BJ. We had him projected to go in the 7th round of the draft. Right. So, you already went up to the 5th round. Do you really think that he's just going to step on the football field from Stephen F. Austin playing for the Kansas City Chiefs and just, set the world on fire? I'm sorry, it's probably not going to happen. Could it happen? Yeah, for sure.
It could.
He's
I hope
super
it does.
athletic. Yeah, he's super athletic, super bendy, super fast. Going to be a fun guy to watch. But I think it's going to take him just a little bit of time to grow into this. It's just like I said earlier, it's a big learning curve when you're going from college to the NFL. Look at people like Kayvon Thibodeau last year. He went like 5th in the draft. Everybody was really high on him. They thought he was going to come in and dominate. George Karlaftis outperformed him last season.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take a shift over to the offensive side of the ball. We've talked defense for, I don't know, almost 20 minutes now. I'm sure a lot of Chiefs Kingdom's pumped, but the offense is hard to overlook. We've heard about D-Hop. Everybody's obsessed over Justin Ross. We've even had John Ross hype going through. I think the only guys not getting any hype, Kadarius Toney's had a little bit of hype. The only guys that are kind of still sliding under the radar a little bit are Sky Moore. There's still a lot of Chiefs Kingdom that think Sky Moore is not going to pan out. I don't know where they're getting that from. And then MVS is kind of one of those guys that people either like him or don't like him, and a lot of Chiefs Kingdom just want to see him cut. We've seen that a lot. Like, he's not very loved throughout Chiefs Kingdom. I get it.
I think it's
Richie
the Marquez
James,
thing.
Could be.
I think it's like quit yelling at people because they say your name the way it's supposed to be said.
Right. And everybody's kind of lumping Justin Watson and Richie James together. Like, they're that 5, 6, 7, right there in that little lump, like who's going to make the roster. There's another guy, UDFA, we've talked about a little bit, Nikko Remigio. Remigio. Sounds like
I am the great Cornholio.
Remigio could be a hidden gem for the Kansas City Chiefs, says Lucas Straczynski, Arrowhead Addict, fan-sided. Steve, we talked about Nikko. Is Nikko, is he a hidden gem? Did Brett Veach go to the UDFA market and pull a guy out of Fresno State that could literally come in and be an adequate special teams contributor year one and could possibly make himself a receiving threat for this team?
I do think it's possible. I think Nikko has something. He has it somewhat. It's crazy because we've talked about this guy, a RAS score of a 4. Like,
yeah,
everything tells you this guy's not athletic, that he's not supposed to be this and that. But if you watch the tape, it's undeniable. He's electric. And yeah. I don't care if they do say that his relative athletic score is a 4 out of 10. He's electric if you watch the game tape. He just has something, man. I like the kid, and I definitely think that he's in a position to where he could enter the NFL as a return man, if nothing else. He could make the squad. It's a long shot, but he could make it, for special teams purposes. And I don't think the guy would be a bad slot receiver either. When I just watch his tape,
I don't either.
I mean, like I said, there's nothing like, there's no bells and whistles with Nikko. Like, it's not like the shiny thing, but he just has something, man. The guy can play.
Right. I went and looked at his contract, dude. They didn't offer him a small contract. That UDFA contract somewhere over the $2 million mark. And it's pushed out over 3 years. It gets a little lower on your dead money the lower it goes. So it's almost like they signed him in to be like a 3-year project. So it's almost like a farm system type thing that Red Beach is running. I don't know if he makes the team this year, but at the same time, if you put him on the practice squad, other teams can take them off the practice squad. Now, they have to designate him to their 53 man. They can't pull him off to put him on their practice squad. I don't think Nikko is so bad that another bad team in this league, that's not very good, couldn't just poach him and put him on the 53 man for what? 1 game and you get him. So,
man, are there not a couple of guys on this roster right now that could happen to them, right? We talk, like, everybody loves Justin Ross and they think he's like the second coming or something, right?
But he's in that same category.
Yeah, he's in the same category. Like, what if he doesn't make the 53-man roster? I mean, what do you do? Do you take your chances and be like, we don't think he's quite good enough to make the 53-man roster, but if we don't give him that last receiver spot, somebody's going to poach him, and then we won't have him to develop for next season. So, I mean, yeah, there's some guys like that, and Nikko Remigio is one of them.
Dude, you know what name that I'm hearing called out a lot? Wide receiver. We haven't even talked about this guy. I don't think we talked about this guy in a year. Cornell Powell. People are acting like the Chiefs love Cornell Powell, and he's got a chance to make the roster. I laugh a little at that one, dude. I don't see that happening ever.
Do you remember like 10 minutes ago when I was talking about how the Chiefs, just like Chiefs fans, they're always like, we don't need that guy. We we don't need D-Hop. We got a Cornell Powell.
Yeah.
Or no, that's the thing. It's like, we don't need D-Hop. We have a D-Hop at home. And then they bring Cornell Powell out on the field. That's the Chiefs fans in a nutshell. So
Cornell Powell, I don't think has a chance to make this roster.
no,
Look,
I think if he was going to, he would have done it already.
Right. We cannot take 10 wide receivers. We've already said with the fullback, now not on the roster, and Andy's not going to take that spot. We said that they may take 7 at wide receiver. Let's run these wide receivers down and be very realistic here, Steve. We've done this countless thousands of times. But one more time today, I just want to get a good grasp of if Nikko really has a shot to make this roster or if, Cornell Powell has a chance. Number one, and we're going to assume that D-Hop does not come to this team. I think if D-Hop comes to this team, this may be a reason they keep D-Hop off the team because you may be in that situation where you got to put a lot of guys on the practice squad and then it will get them poached. So maybe they just say, look, we might be kind of crappy at wide receiver or not as good up to standards, but
I don't think that's a thing.
I don't think it is either. But let's be honest. Let's take them off. Let's take them off. So number 1 is going to be Kadarius Toney. Your number 2 is probably MVS. Your number 3 is Sky Moore. And your number 4 is Rashee Rice. Is that where we're sitting right now? 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I know a lot of people are going to say Justin Ross should be in there in the top 4.
No. If anyone that's trying to say Justin Ross without ever stepping foot on a football field should be above any of the guys that you just named, they're out of their freaking minds, bro. They're just out of their minds. They're being unrealistic.
Okay, so with those 4, you have 3 spots. We're going to go ahead and assume we take 7. So with those 3 spots, you have Justin Watson, Richie James, Justin Ross, John Ross. That's 4. Nikko Remigio, and there's probably somebody I'm forgetting too.
Jerry Neely, Cornell Powell.
Jerry Neely, Cornell Powell. I was thinking there's probably another one right in that mid-range.
Ty Freifogel.
Freifogel. Okay, so look, I think you can take Freifogel off the list. I think Cornell Powell moves off the list. So look, you've got to get 3 more. Anybody on that list you think's a lock? Richie James?
I don't think any of them are a lock. I think that's what it is. After you're past our top 4, I think it's just going to be a pure battle for these positions. I think it's going to be a good, healthy competition for the Chiefs wide receiver room in camp and in the preseason.
Well, with the Chiefs signing Justin Watson to that 2-year deal, that new deal, does that not give him a little bit of a heads up on everybody? Like, do you think he could be the 5? And now there's only 2 in play.
Honestly, the way that the Chiefs seem to like him, if they don't sign a DeAndre Hopkins, I think that Justin Ross has I'm sorry, not Justin Ross, but Justin Watson.
Why is our receivers named Justin?
And then Ross's, and our receiver room's names are BS. But anyway, I think if they don't sign a guy like D-Hop, then that makes Justin Watson a little more valuable, having a little bit more of the experience and a little bit of a reliable guy just in case of injuries and things like that. So he's got the rapport with Mahomes. He had a decent chemistry with Mahomes.
So he's got a little bit of special team stuff too.
Right. He's not a bad receiver. He's not. He's nothing special, but he's not bad. And I think that he could probably make it. So I would probably put him at 5. Richie James, I honestly think Richie James makes the squad. I just think
he has to. That's what I was just getting ready to say.
Yeah.
Justin Watson's got a little special teams ability. Sky Moore, we've seen him on special teams. Believe me, he was starting to pick it up, but I don't prefer him there. And then Kadarius Toney, if he's your wide receiver 1, you can't have him doing it. You just can't.
If you're thinking about Justin Watson and Richie James both making the squad, we've already put this at 6 wide receivers.
Right, so you got
and
one
we didn't
left.
talk about Justin Ross.
We didn't talk about John Ross.
Exactly. So even if they do decide to take 7 receivers, which is not a given, they normally run with 6. No. The only reason why we think it could be 7 is because they have that extra spot where they're not going to have a fullback this year, which logic tells me that it probably should go to the receivers more than likely. But you never know. I'm sure Andy or Spags or somebody could have.
Doesn't it feel like no matter where that extra one goes, it's got to be a special teams contributor? They got to have somebody lining up to be gunners and things like that. So does Justin Ross even do that? He can't play special teams with his medical condition.
Absolutely
So Justin Ross is off this team. As it says, Justin Ross is off this team.
I'll tell you a funny story. Someone left a comment on one of our videos the other day. And it said, I like John Ross as a kick returner. And for some reason, my brain read it as Justin Ross. So I commented and I was like, Justin Ross will never, ever in a million years return any kind of punt, kick, nothing. He will not see the field. He won't sniff the field on special teams. He had a freaking spinal injury, bro. Like, what are you doing? I hit enter, and then I reread the question, and I was like, I'm an idiot. So I was like,
Right.
I'm gonna delete what I said, So I hit remove, and it took the whole comment off, and then I felt bad. I was like, man, me being an idiot and not being able to read, now that guy's comment's gone. So if that was you, I'm sorry.
But what you said's true. Justin Ross cannot do that.
No.
I don't think he does that. He's not going to be a gunner. He's not going to be somebody that tackles somebody down the field.
That's like the dumbest idea of all time.
Right,
Like, if anyone actually said that and believed it,
as this roster sits, though, did we just make it to where Justin Ross really has a really hard chance of making this roster?
We've been saying since day one that he is on the cut line. And we've been correct the entire time. He is on the cut line. Does Justin Ross have a super high ceiling? Yes. Could he be amazing? Yes. We've all seen it from him. But is he on the cut line? Yes. All of that's true.
So look, no Nikko. I think Nikko can't get it. I don't think there's a spot for Nikko.
I just don't see it, dude. I think if they take a guy that can return kicks and they do it solely for the fact of returning kicks, they're going to take Ely. Like, why not?
Okay.
Because this kid offers you way more than Remigio does.
This brings us to another UDFA that's blowing it up right now. Why Deneric Prince is a good roster bet for the Chiefs 53-man. This is by Pete Sweeney.
Well, I mean, I could tell you why without us even talking about who wrote this.
Pete Sweeney.
Pete's what?
Pete Sweeney.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, I can tell you why without even reading Pete Sweeney's stories. Man, they take four. They take four most of the time.
Yeah.
Who's your fourth if it's not him?
It's Jerry and Ely.
Ely's not even listed as a running back. So let's just say.
You're right. Yeah, you're true.
Who do you take?
But, okay, you don't. But what if Clyde gets traded? What do you do?
Then that definitely offers him up a roster spot.
I know Deneric's on there, but what do you do now if Clyde gets traded, though? And Deneric does make the team. That's still just three. You got to bring
Ely in there.
Jerry and Ely up?
Geely. No, but for real, if Clyde were to get traded, obviously that makes a spot for Deneric Prince. And then now you have a spot as your fourth running back for Jerry and Ely, who can also get on the field and line up as a slot receiver, who can also return kicks, punts, whatever you want him to do. So, I mean, I actually like that scenario. Like, if they could trade Clyde off and get something of value for him, I wouldn't be mad at it. I just say
we know
it opens up a lot of doors.
Though, man. We know
I get that.
Clyde.
And I think Clyde will produce. Don't get me wrong. I think if we end up having him all season long, I think as long as he can stay healthy, Clyde's going to put up some numbers. But
I'm not going to say this with any kind of malice or any kind of, I hope this happens. I sure don't. But you always got to talk about things. If Pacheco was to injure himself and miss 5 games, are you more comfortable with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there, taking the snaps and working with Jerick McKinnon, or are you more comfortable with a Prince or a Jerry and Ely? I think you always have to favor Clyde in that situation.
I don't. I really don't. Like, to me, it's like, I get what you're saying 100%. Like, but
I'm just saying it because
if I'm
talking,
my thing is, it's like the way that the Andy Reid offenses work. Like, I feel like if you've got somebody as talented as Deneric Prince, I'll tell you what, if we didn't even have him and it just had to end up being like Ely and Jerick McKinnon, which are guys that are cut from the same thread. They're cut from the same thread. They're not the back that's going to run on first and second down 99% of the time, right? They're just not that guy.
Right.
But I feel like if it had to be, I feel like Andy would make it work. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's a big deal.
What are you doing on those third and shorts and different things
what have we been doing? Nothing. We've been doing nothing.
To put Blake Bell back there?
See, that's the thing about it. We've always sucked on 3rd and 1. It's just like an ongoing thing. So would it really change anything? Like, that's my thing. It's like, I get what you're saying. But I just think that, Clyde's time here is done. Let's get this straight. They're not signing Clyde back. He's either going to play the entire year and be gone, or he's going to get traded and us get something for it in return. Preferably, I'd rather do that, especially after he didn't come to the Super Bowl parade, and then most recently apparently didn't go to the White House either. So obviously he's not good for team chemistry, so who cares?
Well, we talked about this a little the other day. Chiefs Wire, Charles Gobin said that maybe Ezekiel Elliott's a nice little addition.
Right.
Is that something, or is that something you only look at if Clyde goes?
Right. If Clyde left, that would be something to look at for sure. No doubt about it, especially if you could get him for a decent price. But nobody's jumping to get Zeke right now. And I don't think that Zeke's a bad running back. I don't. I do think like I could honestly see Zeke in this offense being pretty successful, to be quite honest about it.
Right.
Just rotating in. So
Well, we said that Nikko Remigio is probably not going to make the roster. Like we've already broke that down. It's very going to be very tough to do.
right.
We've already seen now that it looks like in the same regard, Deneric Prince UDFA. It looks like he's on the ups. I don't think it's going to be tough to keep him off the roster at this point, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Like you're going to have to just
And
love Clyde and
well, something else we didn't even talk about with Prince is he returns kicks. And Dave Tobe already said he reminded him of
Right.
Al Davis returning kicks, who was a pretty decent kick returner in his own right. So I think that Deneric Prince is showing you, different skills that could be valuable. And he just happens to be at a position where there's not a whole lot of competition right now. So I think I could see him falling on this roster. I've been saying 50-50 with Deneric Prince, but when you really think about it, I think he's like a 70-30.
He's moved
I think
himself up, man.
he's at least 70-75% lock at this point.
I agree. Carter Price actually wrote an article for Arrowhead Pride. Let me bring that up for you so you can see it. He puts roster ratings identifying the Chiefs' adequate starters. And so what he's done and what they've done is they've went through the team and they've identified cornerstone positions, and they've got 5 of those, and they've got 9 quality starters. And here they are. I'll throw them on the screen for you, Steve. Cornerstone roster players right now: Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Creed Humphrey, and Joe Tooney. They think that those are the 5 cornerstones. And then the quality starters: Trey Smith, McDuffie, Justin Reed, Omenihu, L'Jarius Sneed, Nick Bolton, Jawan Taylor, Harrison Butker, and Tommy Townsend. Those are the quality starters. Do you think any of these quality starters should go to the cornerstones, or the cornerstones to go to the quality? Or do you think that they're pretty spot on there?
I think that the cornerstones are pretty spot on. Quality starters, yeah, I mean, I can't argue with it, but at the same time, I think maybe there's some people that should be on there that's not. And then there's people like Charles Omenihu where it's like, we haven't seen it yet,
I don't
so I
feel
don't know
like
why
you
he's
can
there.
name. Right, I'm with you. I don't see how you can name Charles Omenihu as a quality starter without seeing a snap, looking at all of his past.
Right.
And I don't see how you can keep Nick Bolton off a cornerstone. If Nick Bolton was not on our defense.
Well, I mean, he's straddling that fence right now. I think if Nick Bolton can maintain what he's doing for another couple of years, I think he'll get in that cornerstone section there. But how do you keep people like a player like Isaiah Pacheco off that list, but you go with a Charles Omenihu?
Well, we're going to get to that because they have said that now out of those, so you had 5 cornerstones and you had 9 quality starters. They have made their list now of adequate starters. So just adequate. They're adequate. That means I don't even know what they actually justify.
They're pretty good.
Here's what he says. In this exercise, an adequate starter is a player who will definitely start and would likely start on several other rosters. However, unlike the first 2 categories of cornerstone and quality starters, these guys could be replaced with better players. It might not be easy to find a better replacement player, but the team could still consider an upgrade. Let me name them. Linebacker Willie Gay. I think that makes a little bit of sense. We've talked about Willie Gay possibly not.
Well, I mean, the way that
getting
this
his
was
long-term
just
deal here.
the way that this is defined, it's hard to argue with anything that they're about to say, because
they're gonna, yeah.
You can upgrade anybody in this league. You could probably upgrade, unless you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, right? Like anyway, you could probably find someone from another team that might be a little more talented than them. Like, I mean, think about it. Like, just running back.
Not Kelce.
Well, okay, yeah, with the exception of Kelce.
So these are why they're cornerstones then.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, the rest of the guys, I mean, that's too simple.
I get
running
it.
back.
Okay, so running back, Isaiah Pacheco. They actually listed Pacheco and McKinnon. Tackle Donovan Smith. Wide receiver MVS. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney. Cornerbacks Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams, even in just their second years. Defensive end Mike Dana. Defensive end George Karlaftis. Linebacker Drew Tranquil. Tight end Noah Gray. Safety Mike Edwards. And they say the bottom line is that 27 players on the Chiefs roster are now listed as adequate or above. This roster is in excellent shape, and it's a big part of what has made them a perennial Super Bowl contender. This team's floor remains incredibly high for 2023. I think what I was having the problem with is there anybody you would take right now at the running back position with age and everything over an Isaiah Pacheco? Knowing what you've seen in 1 year and how much you think he'd get better, is there a better running back in your opinion that you'd rather see play for the Chiefs?
I think there's one out there. I do. I don't have one off the top of my head, but I think you can make an argument for a lot. Like, okay. I'm not down on Pacheco because I love Pacheco, and I'm excited to see where he goes because I think his ceiling's super high, and I love his work ethic. I love the way he plays the game. I love the 150% he gives every carry. But I mean, yeah, I believe so. I think you could make an argument for some guys. I mean, you could go, I don't know, Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker Jr. There's quite a few guys you could argue about. And then if you wanted to go with the older guys, if you weren't worried about the age, you just spout off Derrick Henry or whoever. So, I mean, yeah, there's some arguments to be had.
You can argue it. I don't think I would budge. Honestly, going forward this year, if you told me you could put King Henry on this roster over Pacheco, I don't know if I'd take it.
Does Pacheco have to leave the roster?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm assuming. I don't think I'd take it.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to trade him off for anybody either, even if you could. Like say you could pick any other running back in the league right now, or you keep
player
Pacheco.
For player trade.
I'm rolling with Pop. Yeah, I mean, I just am.
I'm just a big fan.
But I'm
of
saying
Pop.
I feel like there's some arguments to be had out there on that.
There's articles, I guess. Okay, here's a fun one. Bleacher Report actually throws this up. Constructing a perfect NFL defense to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs next season. How crazy is it, Steve, that we have become such a dominant force, and Patrick Mahomes is so dominant that Bleacher Report has to throw out an article in which they play fairy pick your team to construct a perfect defense that can stop Mahomes. So no regular defense can stop Mahomes, only a perfect defense. I'm going to read the players. You tell me whether or not you agree that this team would stop Mahomes or not. Okay. Defensive end, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, and defensive end, let me see, who's the other defensive end here? Michael Parsons is what they went with. They called him an edge defensive end. So that's your defensive ends and your defensive tackles, Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans, and the Chiefs' own Chris Jones. That's who they went with the defensive line. Do you think that defensive line could run down Mahomes and give him some problems?
Yeah, I think they could, but at the same time, I think they could have done way better than that.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Are you really going to put Trey Hendrickson above guys like Nick Bosa? Like, what are you talking about right now?
The reasoning behind it was that the Bengals, can sometimes take Patrick Mahomes out of the football game with some of their schemes, and Trey Hendrickson's perfect at that.
That's bad, and I also don't like the Simmons pick either. I think he's a decent player, but you saw Trey Smith throw him around like a rag doll last time we played the Titans. So I don't know. They're just, yeah. Okay. But okay, decent. They're mid. Let's go.
Right.
What else we got?
Okay. They've got linebackers, Roquan Smith from the Ravens, Fred Warner from the 49ers. That's their two linebackers. They're only playing a two linebacker set.
Okay.
I'll give them that. I mean, come on. You're building an NFL elite team here.
Right.
I mean, this is what we're getting to. And then finally, your corners, you've got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which you've seen Patrick Mahomes torch in the Super Bowl, so I don't know why you go with that pick. Sauce Gardner, Patrick Surtain from the Broncos. We've seen him torch him multiple times. Derwin James, we've seen him torch him multiple times. And Minkah Fitzpatrick from the Steelers. And that is what they said would shut down Patrick Mahomes.
You know
I
what?
call BS. I don't think he's...
Here's my thing. You could line that team up, and that's a really good little Pro Bowl team you've put together there, and Patrick Mahomes still going to score on them.
Patrick Mahomes puts 30 on the board.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Easy.
No doubt about it. I mean, like half the guys that they listed on that, first of all, one of them's on our team, but then half the other guys, Patrick Mahomes torches on a regular basis.
That's what I'm saying.
Who cares?
What? This is the best they could come up with, by the way, to try to beat Mahomes. That makes no sense.
No, Bleacher Report. Fellas, got to do a little better. I don't know who did this, but I don't like it. I don't think you did a very good job this time.
I don't like it either. I think Patrick Mahomes puts up 30 at will. Then again, what are they going to say? Well, they said our Chiefs offense this year. Our Chiefs offense this year. So, like, you got to stop Kadarius Toney and MVS. And
well, let's do this. Let's make our own real quick. Just real quick. This is off the top of our heads.
Okay.
This is off the top of our heads. They had time to sit and study this.
Yeah, they did.
Go ahead.
I'll go defensive end number 1, I'll take Max Crosby. I think he's very elite and dynamic. I think he can run down Mahomes. I think he's mean enough to beat our tackles. I think Jawan Taylor would have trouble with him. That's who I'll go with first pick, and you can take another defensive end here if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. That's who I'm going to go with. I mean, that's the 2 best in the game right now, so let's do it.
Okay. Defensive tackle, I'm going to go ahead and take Aaron Donald. They didn't put him on the list, but I'm still taking Aaron Donald.
And I'm going to take Chris Jones.
Okay. So right then and there, we've already got better. We're already better.
It's already better than their entire team, but let's keep going.
Right. Let's go ahead and go to linebackers. I don't hate their linebacker selections. Roquan Smith and who was their other one? Fred Warner. I don't dislike those. I think they're very serviceable. So,
but you know what I would do? I would go with three linebackers, and I would play Micah Parsons as a linebacker.
Okay, so we'll play Micah Parsons as a linebacker.
Right. He can still come up and blitz.
Right. So we'll play Micah Parsons. We'll go ahead and keep Werner, and just to move it along. For the sake of moving along, let's keep those 2.
We'll keep those 2 and
let's go to corners. So we'll pick 2 corners that can stop Patrick Mahomes.
There's not any.
There's none.
There's just not any. Let's be honest here. I would go with geez, guys, who do we go with here? I'll put Sauce. Let's give Sauce his love. He's just a second-year guy, but I still think he's one of the best in the league.
Right, and I'm having a trouble picking another one. Maybe Xavier Howard?
Nah, I wouldn't.
No. I'm trying to think of somebody's long that can get in his throwing lanes a little bit, because Mahomes likes to improv. So I'm looking for long, fast guys. You're not picking Jalen Ramsey. He torches.
That's why
Sauce
is perfect. Yeah. Let's see.
Darius Slay, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Darius Slay.
This is a tough one. Can we just take our boy? Let's take Trent McDuffie. Can we take Trent McDuffie over all the others?
My other one was going to be Jair Alexander from Green Bay.
Let's do that. I like that.
Okay.
Let's go Jair Alexander
from Green Bay.
Yeah, I forgot about the old Kentucky boy there.
Well, yeah, he played at U of L. He allowed 66.2 passer rating when targeted. So not too bad. It was a 82.1 PFF coverage grade, and he's only 26. So I think I take him. At safety, that'd be our 2 safeties. So if you want to try to find a safety you like, Steve, go for it.
Safeties. Let's see here. Shoot. Who do you think's the best safety in the league right now? If anybody just said you can pick one.
Oh, good Lord.
Do we put the Badger in there? Do we take a Honey Badger? Did we do it? He was one of the top performing. I think he's too old.
Does Derwin James have to be in there?
He does, but I don't like him. Let's go ahead and take Derwin James and shoot. Who was the other they took? Micah Fitzpatrick?
They took Micah Fitzpatrick. I would think, okay, look, so you'd have Micah Hyde from Buffalo. You'd have Kevin Byard from Tennessee. Antoine Winfield, the Bucks. Justin Simmons from Denver. I mean, the safeties are kind of trash, as a whole. They're not that great. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's literally the number 9th
what about,
safety in all of football.
Buda Baker, Jamal Adams, or Jesse Bates? You got a few. I don't like Master Bates, though.
Nobody wants Master Bates.
Isn't C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Isn't he play safety a lot too, or am I wrong?
He does. He's listed. He's the 9th best safety in football. That's who they picked. They picked him.
I thought they put him as a corner. They put 3 safeties, didn't they?
Yeah. I think I would take Antoine Winfield from the Bucks. The sheer fact that he kind of beat up on Mahomes and Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl, didn't he? Wasn't that Antoine Winfield that did all that?
Yeah, but that really didn't beat up on anybody. Tyreek Hill just can't catch a ball. So he just made fun of him for not being able to catch, basically.
Okay, so we'll just go with Minka then. He's the second best in football right now, I think.
You think so?
Gotta be.
What about Jamal Adams?
I don't know. I don't even know if I put him in the top 10.
Let's just go with Minka. Let's just go Minka.
Okay. Well, either way, Patrick Mahomes isn't going to lose to that team. He's not doing it. I think our defensive line is definitely better. Hands down better.
Well, I mean, look at the pass rushers we put on a team. Somehow on the field at the same time, you're going to have Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, and Micah Parsons. Have fun with that. This team,
got Chris Jones and Aaron Donald coming up the middle.
If anyone could stop Patrick Mahomes, it would be this team that we assembled. But could they?
Yeah.
I think they could hold him down a lot better than, obviously the defenses that he plays right now. But I think Patrick Mahomes could still put up 28 points on these guys pretty seamlessly.
Yep. I hear you. Well, let's move on. First 10 weeks of the season, Steve, a graphic come up. What will the Chiefs' record be after Week 10? Let's just take a shot. Why not?
Do it.
Versus Detroit. I think it's a dub. Do you agree?
W.
Jacksonville, Week 2. I think it's a dub.
Dub.
Dub for Chicago in Week 3. So
No doubt.
we'll be 3-0 going against the Jets on Sunday Night Football. I think we beat the Jets. I don't think Aaron Rodgers and them beat us. So that's 4-0. Vikings. At the Vikings, if Patrick Mahomes wins, he now beats all 32 NFL teams. Well, it would be 31 because he has
Mark it down.
I think it's a dub. Versus Denver at home, I'm taking the win.
Taking that.
So that's now 6-0 versus the Chargers at home.
I'm going to take them.
That might be the first close game. The Chargers always play us tough in Arrowhead.
Out of this entire list, out of the first 9 games, that'll be the toughest one because the Chargers always give us fits at Arrowhead.
Right.
You just said it. But I'm going to go ahead and give the Chiefs the dub here. And I don't think that the Broncos are going to get them this year. I don't think it's time yet.
Okay. At Denver, so we'll take 8-0, and then Miami.
I think the Chiefs have every chance in the world to be 9-0 at Week 10 going into the bye.
9-0. If there was a loss on the thing, it could possibly be the Chargers.
At Arrowhead.
The Vikings play tough too, but without Dalvin Cook, I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know, man. I think the Chiefs have. I mean, here's the thing about it: Detroit, Jacksonville, I guess even the Jets now, and then any of the divisional games, and even Miami. All those teams, they have a small chance, right? Like a tiny chance. So I mean, would I be like super surprised if any of those teams knocked off the Chiefs in the regular season? Nah, probably not. I mean, crap happens.
So you wouldn't be
sometimes,
surprised at 9-0. You wouldn't be surprised. Would you be surprised at 5-4?
Yes. Like I was saying, there's lots of teams on here that I think could pull one off against the Chiefs in a regular season game. Like the teams I just mentioned.
If the Chiefs are 5-4 going into the bye week, Week 10,
but I don't think all 4 of them
are you a little
are
nervous? Are you going to be a little nervous if they're 5-4 going into the bye week?
I will never be nervous about the Kansas City Chiefs as long as that man right there is our quarterback. If Patrick Mahomes is our quarterback and Andy Reid's our coach, I do not stress about any of it. Like, I don't care.
How many times are we going to have to hear fire Spags if the Chiefs are 5-4 going into Week 10?
Oh, you're going to hear that regardless. We'll be 9-0 and they'll still be saying the fire Spags because, man, that game against Miami was close, or that game against Denver was close, or they let up 28 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got to get rid of Spags. And then the last half of the season when the defense just absolutely obliterates people and gets into that top 5 conversation, they'll act like they never said it. Just like last year.
That is the truth. Last thing before we head out of here, man.
Happy
Joe
birthday.
Montana's birthday.
Joe
Montana's birthday, baby. Did
Joe
you know
Montana,
Joe Montana?
you crazy asshole.
Yeah. He played 25 games with the Chiefs in his career. So his long career, he only played 25 games with the Chiefs. Do you want to take a guess at 85 passer rating was what it was. You want to take a guess at how many yards he threw and how many touchdowns he threw in 25 games with the Chiefs? Off the top of your head, I know you don't know this. This is tough.
No, this is the equivalent of not even 2 seasons.
Right.
Okay. Let me guess. Let's say 4,080 passing yards. And let's go with 36 touchdowns.
Okay, so you were a lot low on the yards. 5,427 yards total.
I shot low, so that makes sense.
And your touchdowns were a little high. He only had 29. He had 16 interceptions. It was towards the end of his career. But I tell you what, Joe Montana was a good quarterback. And I actually watched some stuff of this guy coming out of the pocket, moving around the backfield, sidearming it. He looked a little like Patrick Mahomes a little bit, baby.
Joe Montana was the man, dude.
Yeah, Joe Montana may have been the OG Mahomes out there. I don't know. But, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today, man. Hope you guys had a good one. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure and hit that thumbs up. Give the 5-star review. Let us know where to hear Chiefs content. Steve, you got anything else?
No, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Aside from my soul.